Joining us now is women's rights activist and advocate for the victims of the October 7 attack and expert in sexual violence law, Ayelet Rezin Bet-Or. She joins us from Jerusalem. Ayelet, thank you for joining us on the program today.
Thank you for having me on this important subject. Thank you.
Romi's experience, how she remembers the details, how she recounts it, it shows she's had a lot of time, to come to terms with the assault in captivity. Do you think she's recovered or is on the road to recovery or seeking justice for what happened to her?
Well, in the world of trauma, I can never speak about recovery or full recovery. The clarity and the detail in Romi's testimony does not mean she has moved on. It means that she survived long enough to understand what happened to her. Trauma doesn't disappear because someone can speak about it clearly, obviously. Often it's the opposite. People speak only after long periods of silence, processing, and inner struggle. I wouldn't say she's recovered. I would say she's on a road, a long one, that includes healing, but also truth telling and demanding justice for her and the other victims. For many, many survivors, the speaking publicly is not the closure. It's demanding responsibility, a way to make sure what happened to them is not erased or denied. And unfortunately, in regard to the Israeli hostages, and sexual victims the sexual assault victims of October 7th, there were very strong forces of denial and minimalism from the world.
Yeah, and
So,
sadly so. I think, for many victims of sexual violence and assault, that unfortunately is the experience. But Amnesty International has released a report on the October 7 attack. It accuses Hamas of crimes against humanity. There are others who do say that Israel's retaliation is also a crime against humanity. What can be done with the Amnesty report? What does he hope to achieve, though?
um, those are two separate questions. I'll say that the Amnesty report is important, but I must say, it's too little too late. 2 years after, more than 2 years after the attack, and the hostages coming back, and survivors and eyewitnesses, and the forensics evidence that we have, and the footage that we have, stating the obvious is, again, too little too late. It is important in international law for the recognition. I'm not minimalizing that, but it seems that I got the sense that Amnesty saw the evidence, but it chose not to say what, the full message it should have said, to demand accountability for the perpetrators, to talk about the systematic attack, the pre-planned, the cages that were prepared for the hostages, the sexual assault, the abuse, the psychological terror, the torture they went through. Um, all that is not enough recognized. And also I have to say in regard to, that balancing trend, I totally dismiss that. International law does not work as a moral balance sheet. Crimes committed by one party do not cancel crimes committed if committed by others. So if Amnesty recognizes these crimes, they need to call them out as they are, and to point out the perpetrators, which are very clear here. There's no question, especially in regard to the perpetrators who held the hostages and captives. So they didn't take the brave step they should have, and fell into the trap of being balanced, or I don't know, politically correct. In
Not
the
to take
name of politically correct, they did not give the victims, the brave sexual assault victims who came forward, men and women, and also children and minors who spoke out, and they did not give them the full recognition they deserve. And that is a betrayal of their role as a human rights advocacy organization.
Ayelet, I don't want to dismiss the importance of this conversation, but quickly, could you tell us the sentiment in Israel? since the release of the Amnesty report, and especially since Romy recounted her story?
Um, so Romy is she bravely spoke to about the four sexual assault. She shared four sexual assault incidents that were part of her captivity experience, but there was a long line of sexual assault victims, hostages that came back from captive. Like I said, men and women who experienced gender-based violence, and each testimony like this is, received in great respect and modesty. And she's in Israel. She's getting a huge hug and support, and she's surrounded by medical professionals, and I know also mental health professionals who are part of this long path of recovery. But again, Romy and the other victims and all Israelis, and I'll also take a step forward and say all sexual assault victims are expecting this recognition, these crimes to be clean of politics. And the world, different human rights organizations, different UN organizations, different UN experts and professionals, some have recognized this as these crimes as they are, but some have failed. For instance, the special repertoire on sexual assault against women and girls has denied that there is evidence on the sexual assault crimes committed on October 7th and captive. And she's repeatedly denying that.
Right.
And I asked, how can any victim around the world look up to this professional, international professional who is, she's my representative, your representative, of all women. She's supposedly of all women
scarred
and
for
girls.
life. She is scarred for life, Ayelet. I mean, a doctor being raped by a doctor, being raped by, someone who is supposed to be guarding you, and then also being raped by a fellow captor. I can't imagine what exactly, she's gone through, and thoughts and prayers are with her and with others who have suffered the same ordeal or something similar. We do not dismiss their feelings or their trauma. Thank you again, Ayelet.
Thank you so much for these strong words, and I'll make sure that it will be passed on to the victims who I know of. Thank you so much for that. It's so important.
Thank you.